Good morning, all. Welcome to our webinar on closing the adoption gap. Let's give everyone one more minute to connect, and then we can start off. All right, I think we can kick off with this webinar. Anyone joining later can, we will have the recording ready, we will have the slides ready. So again, welcome to all on this webinar on closing the adoption gap or how a solid tooling process positively impacts your business results. My name is Steven van Dazen. I'm a strategy director automation at IO, working for, among others, clients like Gazelle, Feyenoord, Port of Antwerp. And I've been doing adoption strategies and implementation strategies for over 10 years now at IO. So I've seen a lot of implementations of toolings, whether it's automation tooling, whether it's website tooling, whether it's CRM, where some things go wrong and they don't have to do anything or they don't have anything to do with the way the tool is set up, but mainly with the way people work with it or people tend to work with it. A couple of household items up front, some information about IO. For those who don't know, we are what we call a blended agency. And we bring together talent in marketing, technology, content and strategy, and other aspects of digital all together in one company with a belief that experience is everything. Making sure that experiences of our customers are high and rich and relevant with brand experience. We have over 2,000 people. We have 12 offices in Belgium, Netherlands, the Nordics as well. We serve over 20 industries and have over 100 core services. Good to know. You can drop all of your questions in the chat. We will have a Q&A at the end of the webinar, so those will be picked up then. A recording will be shared via email. The slides will be shared via email. And if there's anything else you want to hear from us, connect with me on LinkedIn or send me a direct message on any social channel, and we will gladly add more information, or I will gladly give you more information on that. So to start this off properly, let's start with some food for thought first. There is no, I'm used to doing this in person, so there's no fingers pointed to the sky if I ask this, but most of you will probably have one of these items in your house, whether it's some sort of voice changing microphone, a universal remote, an alarm clock, one of those things from the past, charging stations connected in your kitchen, or a magic bullet to prepare your shakes. All of these things are at one point bought by you via nice advertisements and are probably collecting dust in one of your shelves or one of your drawers. So in this case, it looks like you're burning money by buying these. The same can be said in a business context, because just like all of these items that we've seen here on the right side, you probably also have a Salesforce account lying around, or a Dynamics account, or Pipedrive, or Marketo, or any other CRM system or automation platform where you don't use the full capabilities of the system. And it's not always because it's a strategy or a choice not to use these tools, but often it's also about people not using them because they don't know how to use them, because they don't know what those tools can do, or they're even afraid of working in them. This is what we call adoption. People using a system to benefit from it. And just like all of those items, the clock radio, the nicer dicer, and probably known for those who have watched daytime TV in the past 20 years, not using a system, not using a tool that you have is potential failure. So if we take a look at what Gartner says about that, that approximately 50% of CRM and automation implementations, and this can also be expanded to any other software that is used in a business context, they fail. 50% of these implementations fail. And failure for Gartner is less than 75% adoption rate. So if a tool is implemented correctly and does exactly what it needs to do for your business, but nobody uses it, it's a failed implementation. And 50% is high, very high. That failed adoption is what we call the adoption gap. What is the adoption gap? The adoption gap is the time between purchasing a software tool and fully exploiting its potential. So as soon as a license is bought until the time that more than 75% are fully exploiting the potential of the tool, that is what we call the adoption gap. And the smaller that adoption gap, aka the faster the tool is used and exploited to its full potential, the more business value is generated from it. If we expand to that a little, the adoption gap, what is it? Well, many organizations implement CRM or other systems, other automation systems, or other business software. And first off, there's this peak of enthusiasm. Not everybody, but most people are happy that a new tool is coming. We're finally going to end everything that doesn't work well. We're finally going to get some processes. We're finally going to get the tools that we need to do a proper job. And then, as soon as an implementation is done and work is required, we end up in the valley of despair. This is a classic system, a classic approach, because initial enthusiasm has plummeted. It's not going to be as easy as a software vendor has told us, or it's not going to be as easy to have all these processes implemented. Also, no one is shouldering the project. Management has said, yeah, look, we validated this project and we started it off. We gave you the budget. It's up to you. It's not up to our concern. And the result is often, combine that with there's no belief or motivation to keep running the project. And everyone gets stuck in that valley of despair at some time. We just need to make sure that we get out of it. Because as long as the tool is underused, there's no results coming from it. A tool is just a tool unless the processes are correct and it's used correctly. And it's always the fault of the tool and the supplier. It's never the processes. It's never the adoption. It's always the tool and the supplier. And what you get is some sort of continuous implementation cycle. Tool is implemented, tool is not used, tool doesn't yield results, fine, new tool selected. New tool is implemented, tool isn't used. Again, that's cycle. It never ends, and it's a constant 2 to 3 year cycle of implementing new systems. It's not the tool, it's often the process. And we want to get out of that valley of despair. We want to move to the slope of enlightenment and then to the plateau of sustainability. Why? Because there we can get the results that we want. There we can use this system to its full extent. Because in my nice images are not working perfectly in this one, but this is an image of an IT guy smashing a computer, because that's what it is. Everyone gets frustrated. If a tool doesn't work and we're stuck in the valley of despair, everyone gets frustrated with it, and we want to avoid frustration. So we talked a bit about the reasons why this adoption gap arises. Well, we can move more into detail in that. That's because in a lot of cases, CRM and automation or other business software are seen as projects. It's a fixed time frame that needs to be delivered. It's a fixed scope that needs to be delivered, and it's one person looking at it and saying, look, handling it like a project manager, handling it like a project. But these things, these implementations are not projects. They're products. They need to be serviced as a product. They need to have next steps. They need to have a very long planning as well. Because what happens after it's implemented? How are you going to use it? Like, compare it to a house. As soon as you build a house and you don't maintain your house, you don't change things in your house, it's always going to deteriorate. You need to paint your walls from time to time. You need to clean. You need to manage it. All of these things are also true for a CRM and an automation implementation. It's not a project, it's a product. And there's 4 common reasons why this is often arising, why an adoption gap arises. One, we've already talked about this earlier, is that management is often not involved. They've given the go on it, but the business critical implementations and the decision making is delegated to IT or middle management. That's not a bad thing that it gets delegated, but if management get disconnected from this entire product or project in this, it means that the leverage, the potential leverage in the organization goes down. And they're too far removed from the process. Leadership doesn't know what's happening. Leadership can't connect the dots anymore because they don't know. And if no product owner has been designated or a product owner is given too little authority to decide on things, it's always going to move off the road and it's always going to deteriorate. So that's the first step. Management involvement during that process is always going to be key. Second reason is there's no strategy. Often people say, we want tool X to be implemented because that's going to solve our problems. But there is no strategy in choosing a tool. The tool is often seen within companies as the strategy, while we need a strategy for implementation. We need to remove the idea that we need to focus on tool functions. We need to focus on overall business goals. We don't implement a CRM because we want to implement a CRM. We want to implement a CRM because we want to improve sales processes, because we want to make sure that our lead to close time goes down, that we want data contingency to be improved. And if there's no strategy and there's no view on overall business goals, there's often a mismatch between the tool and the transformation that is required. Implementing a CRM system is not going to bring processes to your organization. Change management and some sort of digital transformation is always required when implementing a new system. We've also talked before on the reboot cycle. It's constantly the same thing. Tool doesn't work, re-implement new tool. Tool doesn't work again, new tool. And we don't question the processes or the approach, we question the tooling. Also, and that is why it's often seen as a project, the focus and the end goal is always the project completion. When can we have this? When can we have that? It's never about long-term vision. It's not about delivering everything all at once. It's about starting off with an MVP. It's about going now, next, and long in your tooling strategy and in your adoption strategy. So those are the 2 core factors to start with, but then there's also things that have to do with things after the implementation. There is often insufficient training. Minimal onboarding, here's some videos, watch that, here's one classical training, you follow that, focusing on basic functions without role-specific training or coaching. Often in organizations, and this is mainly true in CRM, where salespeople have to do a lot in very little time, they often don't get the time or the space for learning, to get to know a new system. And because they don't use the tool enough, they also keep doing it in the same way, the same static way of working with it, static way of training, and we want to avoid that as well. The last common reason is bad data management. Shit in is shit out. If you put in incomplete data, incorrect data, if data is inconsistent between teams, if there's no integration with the rest of your tool stack, your CRM system, your automation platform is always going to be mediocre at best. We need good data to make good results or to have good processes in place. Want more reasons in this? Fine. An average mid-marketing company has 200 plus software tools. 150 hours a year, on average per year, is wasted on switching between tools. Just I look up something in my CRM and then I need to do something in my ERP and then in my billing account, 150 hours a year per employee. That's a lot. 52% of companies think re-implementation is the solution. The tool doesn't work, we need to implement something else. It's not about re-implementation. It's about changing processes. It's about changing approach. So how can we close that adoption gap? I'm just going to take a quick sip. Well, in theory, it's fairly simple. It takes a lot of work, of course, but there is a theory behind it. And this by productizing the process. Not seeing it as a project, not seeing it as a process as such, but productizing it. And that's why we use the adoption gap framework. And the adoption gap framework is basically a model that is based around 7 steps during the entire lifetime of the project, all centered around a management control system. And why is that management control system important? I'll show you later on, because we said before, management needs to be involved, management needs to see the results, and management needs to communicate to the rest of the organization as well. Let's go through these steps together. First off, we have most important phase, leadership preparation and change management. We cannot start a project in CRM, in automation, in any business software without having this. We need involvement of leadership because they're crucial in transformations, because they can have that, they can push it from the top down. We need to have them engaged from the start. They don't need to be involved all the time. They don't need to be in workshop sessions. They don't need to use the tool themselves, but they need to be consultants when we need them, or they need to be informed during the entire process. Because the vision on it, especially if you're working with an external party in this, we as a company, IO, should not give you or should not provide you the full vision on the role within the organization. The vision should originate from within management, from within the organization. It also helps to lead by example. If management doesn't believe in it, if management is not present in the process, why should the rest of the organization be present in the process? And it's also about empowering employees, giving the rights, giving the authority to certain people to run this process in name of the company, in name of the management. They're also key in managing resistance on all levels, because often they're the highest way of the highest in rank to have this availability, to have this power to manage it. And they should also be highlighting success. Any success, as small as possible, any success that it gets highlighted during an implementation process and during an adoption process in business software steadily improves the involvement from the rest of the organization. So if you don't have leadership involvement for your project, make sure you have it before you start it, because otherwise your project is destined to fail even before you start it. In the second phase, we have assessment and goal definition. And this ties back to the strategy. It's not a system. It's not a tool that we're going to be implementing. We are going to be facilitating processes through implementing a system. So we need to analyze and assess the current processes. Sales, marketing, service flows, data streams. Is the quality of the data correct? Can we connect to other data sources in the organization? And engagement and use. To have this clearly put out, we need to have business aligned improvement objectives. What are we going to solve? What issues are we going to solve? We are not going to solve the fact that people still use Excel. We're going to solve improved lead to close rates. We are going to improve the fact that your sales manager doesn't have a clear idea of what's everyone doing. We're going to solve the issue that you have no insights in what is the exact or the perfect customer journey to follow before a deal closes. All of these things are part of the assessment and goal definition. And only when we have that assessment and goal definition ready, we know how and what to implement for you. All these insights come together in the phase 3, the customized onboarding plan. And this is another big issue. A lot of companies just buy a software and they expect it to work for them without any configuration, without any customization. A lot of systems, a lot of tools claim that out of the box, they can provide your organization with 99% of your needs. But an out of the box tool is never configured to your unique processes, is never perfectly configured to tend to your needs. So phase 3 is setting up a specific implementation plan, making sure that you document all the steps that need to be taken to transition from an as-is to a to-be situation. And it's tailored to your organization. It's tailored to the needs of your employees. And this, just like I said before, we have no CRM, an automation platform, billing software, ERP, never is a one-size-fits-all solution. It's always customized. And based on that, based on those needs, based on that specific implementation plan, we can also define specific tool training for each division, for each team, for each person as such. And this entire phase 3 is aligned with the business goals from phase 2, making sure that all the requirements, all the must-haves, all the should-haves are planned accordingly and are existing in the system. Phase 4, and this is the easiest part because this is where you need to do as a company. Most part of the company doesn't have to do too much, and this is often external partner or your IT team that works on this, is translating those business goals and that implementation plan in an actual implementation. Making sure that the tool is set up, making sure that the integration of the necessary data is correct, and then, very important, making sure you have a pilot team of key users who can test this system. We're not going to push an implementation on a group of users without consulting them. We will give them the information, or you will give them the needed information, you will give them an onboarding period, and they will have to give feedback on that. So this is an important part as well, because this allows us to gather feedback, to adjust, to make sure that what we have decided together, or what you have decided from an organizational view, making sure that this is exactly translated to what the users need. And this is implementation, that user acceptance testing, that first pilot group is going to be key, because they will be the pallbearers of the rest of the organization when it essentially goes live. The first questions, the first support source is always going to be your key users. In a phase 5, of course, after we have an implementation and then go live, we need to monitor this. A lot of organizations launch something, whether it's a website, whether it's an ERP or a CRM, and they forget it. It's always going to be the same case. We have implemented this. We don't want to put too much time and effort in it. It will work for us, but it doesn't. And this is where a lot of things go wrong, because a business software like this, or a business implementation like this, needs to be a living thing. You need to have a plan for the future. You need to have improvement plans. You need to have plans to add functionalities, to add new things to it. And that is why we always suggest, in this case, to set up KPIs, OKRs, dashboards, and reports to track usage and success. Those KPIs and metrics will be defined in your phase 2 and your strategic vision in that, making sure that we can easily see who uses this the most, who uses this tool the best, and can we link that to business results? And there's no use in highlighting performances of someone who uses the tool the best in the organization if the results don't follow. So link business results to utilization rates, to adoption rates. And all of these things, use that via periodic check-ins and reviews, also with your employees. These are wins and these are potential highlights that can also be communicated within the organization. But you need to monitor this. You cannot just expect people to use it because you've told them. No, you need to check, do they use it? Do they use it in the right way? Again, not setting it and forgetting it, we need a feedback loop. We need continuous improvement. That's why most organizations work with a now next long model, going from an MVP to a future-proof solution over the years. Make sure that you communicate and plan for updates, for feature improvements, but also listen to your employees. Make sure that you have structured feedback loops in the organization. Ask them for their ask them how happy they are with the system, internal NPS systems. Create a small feature request system. What do you need from this tool that is not yet present in the existing setup? Prioritize those based on the amount of requests you get. Improve KPI measurement. Expand the entire system so that it helps expand and it helps improve your company as well. And keep providing ongoing trainings. Global trainings on the entire system, but also in-depth trainings. Listen to their feedback. What do they find hard to use? What is easy for them to use? What would they like in regards to training? Listen to those feedback loops and give them what they want to improve in their daily job. And also, it's set as a phase 7. And my apologies that this slide is not translated. We will make sure that when we deliver the slides that it gets translated. It's set as a phase 7, but basically this is a layer that is wrapped around the entire process, and that is communication and engagement. From the start, make sure that you have an internal communication plan. And we talked about communicating from management level, but everyone needs to be updated and informed within the company. As soon as the system is live, launch an internal knowledge base. Make sure that people can find their own way in the system without having to reach out to someone. Communicate about tool updates. Communicate about release planning. Let your internal champions provide training on best practices. How did I get to an improved close rate? How did I spend less on a deal that comes in by doing this and this? Let your employees shine as well. And maybe, if it's necessary, build in some sort of gamification. Reward your power users and champions. Give them incentives to improve data quality. Make sure that KPI attainment is part of their performance review, and that something is also following out of these performance reviews. Create a feature request leaderboard. An internal champion that has requested the most relevant features can be highlighted as well. Make sure that people are attached to the system. Make sure that it lives within your organization and it's just not something that is forced upon them from the top down. Again, apologies for the translation. I don't know why this is happening, but the role of the management control system is key in this. As you've seen in my first framework slides, it's the center point of this entire thing. So the management control system is basically a reporting framework where leadership can easily see what the state of adoption is within the organization. How are we using this system to better our business? We can have a dashboard that says adoption percentages in all divisions, in all teams, in all offices and countries, making sure that we are all aligned on that, making sure that we can follow up on the most important KPIs. And why do we use that? Because we can then get people to work on it. If a sales team in, let's just say, Netherlands is lagging behind in adoption, and we see that countries that have a better adoption also have better results, then it's a way from from management to reach out to the local sales manager or the sales director to improve the way that it's working. So making sure that we tie usage results and adoption levels to business results in this, because then we can see if users are engaged, are our processes efficient, and do we get an ROI on our tooling investment. It makes it a lot more easy for management to make data-centered decisions as well and make data-centered improvements available for the company. So all cool, nice, another framework to add to your library of frameworks, but what's in it for you if we take this into account? Well, closing the adoption gap can really help an organization move forward. First off, and this is the one that always yields most interest, is the improved business results. By using processes, by using good processes, by using a structured way of working in a centralized system, conversion percentages are bound to go up. Close rates are bound to go up. Why? Because we help salespeople in the CRM, or we help marketing teams in automation platforms to do things better and faster based on data. It allows us to have shorter sales cycles. The lead to close time in most successful implementations goes down. By getting the right info from within the entire organization, we also see increased customer retention. We have the signals at our ready to act before a customer shows any sign or any potential sign of dropping out. And if we can have better close rates, and if we can keep our customers longer, our customer lifetime value will increase. And if our customer lifetime value increases, our customer acquisition cost is going to go down. So these are business results that will be improved by a good process, by a good tooling. Another thing is the improved collaboration. When all data is available to all parts of the organization, we can have improved alignment between sales, marketing, and customer service. Sales knows from marketing what a prospect has been doing on the website. Service can see everything what happened before they come into a customer service approach. It makes it a lot easier and a lot faster to respond to items. And because we have that data exchange and improved data communication, we can also increase employee happiness, because employee happiness also stems from the fact that they can help their customer better. If we have all that data, we can also move to revenue operation processes, making sure that we tie marketing to sales to service all in one global approach. Tool stack ROI is also an important one, also from an IT standpoint. If we can improve business results and collaboration, we will have to spend less money and less time on working with it, and it improves the results coming from it. So we get better ROI on our tooling investments. The more features we use, and the more features we use because we really need them, the more value we get from the system. The more efficiency and the more productivity we get from the system, the less time people need to spend on administration. The more marketers can market, the more salespeople can do sales. And that way we can really build an advantage by technology compared to other companies in our competitive landscape. And if we combine all that together and we have the right processes and the right training and the right adoption guidance, we can also foresee organizational growth, because scalable processes will work a lot faster. Scalable processes will help you grow. A good data structure will help you make data-driven decisions, and data-driven decisions are always better than heartfelt decisions. Improved customer experience will increase customer retention, will increase CLV, will increase customer acquisition cost. And we will also build up maturity models for the organization. A digital maturity model helps you digitize faster, helps you improve your digital transformation speed, and helps you improve adoption as well. So while organizations often implement a system or implement a tool, it's more about changing the organization. It's more about growing. It's more about transformation than just implementing a technology. And if everything is correct, there's no more frustrated IT guys, but there's happy people, there's happy employees. Because a lot of people leave your company if the tools don't allow them to do their job properly. Let's recap what we learned so far. Important, and I keep saying this, but nobody believes me, but a tool is not a strategy. A tool needs a strategy. If you buy a race car and you don't know how to drive your race car, your race is going to last 50 meters stops, because in the first corner, you'll go straight off. Same with tooling. Productize your projects. Do not see this as a time-boxed project. Implementing a business-critical software within an organization takes time, and you will need to raise it like a kid. You need to keep improving it. Implementation and growth strategy need to be aligned with your organization. Forget out-of-the-box complete solutions. Forget cookie-cutter templates. They are not suitable for you. Forget LinkedIn gurus that provide you with a checklist. This is how we've done it for company X. No. Your company might be 90% comparable to another company, but those 10% that make it unique are going to be the difference between success and failure. Leadership buy-in, again, I cannot stress this enough, always the starting point. If you don't have leadership buy-in, don't start. That is the conditio sine qua non to start a project like this. Also, trust the process. A lot of organizations don't want to process or don't want to build processes for everything, and that's fine. But your key processes will need to be in this system and will need to follow a fixed structure as well. And again, this is also going back to the strategy and the productizing the project. Do not set it and forget it. Make sure this is an ongoing part of your organization, and people also get the time and the resources to improve and expand on this system. So, what are potential next steps to do in this? Before you start, if you want to improve your adoption, assess current adoption rate. There are frameworks and there are systems to see if you're really using your CRM and your automation tooling in the best way possible. Because again, if you're looking at replacing something, if your existing adoption rate is because the system is not set up correctly, well, maybe you can save a lot of money by doing this first instead of re-implementing something. Identify gaps in the tool usage. Evaluate your processes. Are all the processes that we build in, are they set for success? Or do we need to improve this? Do we really use everything in the tool that we need to use or that can bring us benefit? And this can serve as a basis for improvements. If everything is chaos, it might be better to start with a clean slate, but first look for the diamonds in the rubble. Develop a customized adoption plan. If your adoption is low, okay, fine. Take a look at what you need from all levels of adoption, of all levels of digital maturity. Make sure that you know what needs to be improved. Plot those improvement points and desires on a timeline. Build a maturity model from it and use that as a guide for adoption growth and tool stack evolution. Do not just give people a list of 50 things that they need to do or need to improve. Do it step by step. Improve adoption, improve your systems in steps, in levels. If there's no adoption or limited adoption now, it's an illusion to think that within 6 months' time, everyone is going to use your system like you want it used. Give the people time to learn from it. And important as well, don't overthink. A lot of organizations want to start with everything. Start with an MVP. Again, the maturity model. Start with the first steps. Make sure that you launch something, that you release something that the biggest part of your organization can start using, and then build from that. Think together with the people that need to use this, but do something. because thinking doesn't yield results, doing yields results. Some numbers, and this is not just me, these are backed by software vendors, but also research firms. An average ROI for every euro spent on CRM and again, 800%. That's the average ROI for every euro you spent on CRM and automation, if you do it correctly, which means that if an implementation of a software is going to cost you, including license somewhere, let's just say arbitrary numbers, 100,000 euros, you should have at least 800,000 euros in ROI from that system if your processes are set up correctly. Most people, most companies, 81%, increase their adoption rate through processes. It is practically impossible to ensure a high adoption rate without solid and clear processes built into your organization. A good business setup, a good business software setup can provide 17% of job happiness increase if the systems work flawlessly. If you don't have to switch to 15 systems every single day, but everything can be done from one system. You don't have to look up information in other systems. If you use a CRM, your job happiness will increase. And if those tools work, we can see a 34% increase in productivity. 34% more work done within the same time. You don't need to hire extra people in most cases. You need to make sure that people's time gets freed up to do what they need to do. Marketers need to market. Marketers don't need to look for information. They need a system that can tell them what they need without having to look for it. A good CRM, a good AI-driven CRM will be smart, will highlight things to your salespeople, to your account managers, and even to your customer success team before you are aware that it's happening. And then we can increase productivity. And in the end, it's all one thing that matters. It's not about adoption. It's about the money that it delivers. Adoption rate is just another metric. It's just another way to gain more money. Because if people use a system that boosts productivity and that boosts ROI, it will boost ROI even more, and it will bring value and money to the company instead of costing the company money, which is the case for a lot of failed implementations. So that is how we use an adoption gap framework to improve business results within a company and to improve ROI from software implementations. We will now move over to the chat. I'm quickly checking the questions that were asked. A question from Dieter: when will there be a good sync between Salesforce SQL opportunity quoting and HubSpot deals? We lose a lot of time using the two CRM systems. Thanks for your insights. Well, this is a very detailed question, of course. I have no ready set answer to that. We have a whole set of specialists in both systems where we can take a look at that. I think this is a key idea of a key thing that we discussed before. Adoption in certain tools will be a lot more difficult if not all the data is set up correctly. We see that a lot between HubSpot and Salesforce as well. Companies that use both systems for CRM and for marketing, where they use the out-of-the-box connector that is provided between the two tools. Again, out of the box, it's an illusion. I don't know the concrete or the exact use case of Dieter in this case, but a lot of these things, a lot of these out-of-the-box systems, they work well and they do what they need to do, but often some extra configuration or a custom connection between the two systems is needed because the complexity that an organization needs is a lot higher than what an out-of-the-box tool offers. So it all depends. Diane asked, do you have an example of a vision from leadership on this? And that's if you could explain this a little bit more or add some more context to that, then I can give you a good idea about that. But often what we see is if leadership is involved, they often tie an implementation like this to the business goals. And it needs to bring in that much more money. It needs to free up much more time. And getting new employees in a company, finding the right employees, finding quality employees is difficult. So often it's about doing more with the same people. It's doing more with the same amount of time. So that could be a vision on leadership. Often an implementation like this also is tied to a transformation perspective. They see this as a first step to entire transformation vision within the company. We can share a dashboard for adoption, for instance, in HubSpot. Reach out to me via LinkedIn or via email, and I'll gladly provide you with an example of this. Our webinar setup in this doesn't allow me to share it right now. The question from Samantha is, where can we find the adoption rate of CRM? Well, that's the thing. Most CRMs, or almost all CRMs, don't provide you with this information because it's not a key part of it. That is why, again, out of the box doesn't always work or hardly ever works. And we build in these adoption rate metrics, we build in these dashboards within the system. Some systems like Salesforce or HubSpot, they have basic usage metrics, like how many notes or tasks or meetings have been booked by sales, but they don't give you detailed information in usage time or amount of tasks or percentage of the tool that is actually used. So this would be a custom implementation of these metrics in your dashboard. A question of Chris, do you have experience with LinkedIn Sales Navigator and HubSpot to keep contacts and companies up to date? Again, we do. A lot of our customers use LinkedIn Sales Navigator within HubSpot, but the integration and the native connection is not always very useful or handy to use. Again, these detailed questions, I will gladly move them or pass them on to our specialists in the teams that could help out with these types of questions. Question from Andreas. Beautiful name. My youngest son is also called Andreas. Do you have any advice on getting colleagues on board with recurring and continuous changes? Individuals can be resistant to changing process, adapting their old ways, even when faced with the same problems over and over. This is the main issue in adoption often. There's always going to be people who don't want to adapt to new ways of working. So there's a couple of solutions to that. And the most complex solution in this is making sure that whatever they use right now and whatever they're doing right now can easily be translated into a new system. We need to listen to the people who are going to be using this system, whatever system it is or whatever way they use, but we need to make sure that they see the benefits of improved ways of working. Often this is because they've been doing this for years, or we see this a lot with the people who are nearing retirement. They say, look, I've been doing this for 45 years. I don't need to change my way of working. That's a valid point as well. So we always look at it together with the organization. How can we get them on board either way? How can we improve them? We just need to make sure as well that they are heard from the first phase on. We need to make sure that they're involved as well. And sometimes this works fairly easy. If they see the benefits from it, and some of them are very eager to start working in a new way, it can help. If it doesn't help, we can add this to performance reviews. We've done this together with companies in the past as well, where usage of the CRM is part of your performance review, where data quality, where adoption is part of your performance review. We can also pull this into the extremes as well. We've had a company once that was for sales heavily bonus based. A lot of the money that salespeople made was based on bonuses. And together with management, we decided, because there was not enough adoption in the company, we decided to open up the bonus commission structure. So there was a dashboard in the tool where everyone could see from their colleagues what bonuses they were making. It's not my preferred way of working, but it put pressure on them. And they could see that the 5 people with the highest adoption rate and the highest usage rate of the CRM were also closing the most deals. And we're also getting the most commission. It was not solely based on the fact that they used the CRM, but it triggered a lot of people to start using the CRM more, and we saw sales improve heavily because of that. And a final approach, and this is something that I don't like doing, but is looking for workarounds. Now, we want to avoid shadow IT. We want to avoid, if we implement a system, that people keep using their old systems. But sometimes it's just, you just need one outlier in this one person who keeps blocking everything. We've had this at one company quite a few years ago, where someone who was nearing retirement said, look, I'm very happy with my Excel. I don't need a CRM. He sent that Excel every week to the sales manager, who was copying everything into the system, making sure that data was not perfect as well. So what we did there was we transitioned, especially for him, not much communication about it, but we created this Excel in a SharePoint environment, and we created a SharePoint to HubSpot connection, where every change that he made, every new line in Excel that he created, every update was automatically transferred into the system. And if something was changed in the system, his SharePoint was updated as well. This was a workaround that we didn't like, that the sales manager didn't really like as well, but it's made sure that that roadblock in the organization was fixed. And 2 years later, the person retired. We skipped that, and the HubSpot was used as the only CRM in the system. Question from Nikita: do you have experience with tools other than LinkedIn Sales Navigator to update contacts and companies based on LinkedIn information? There's a lot of data intelligence toolings around. It all depends. We use things like Lead Info, we use Apollo, we use, for the Belgian market, things like Busy. Not all of these things are based on LinkedIn information, but a lot of these tools do scrape LinkedIn to provide information. So depending on the needs of the organization, depending on whether it's B2B, B2C, whether the country, we can connect most CRM systems, most automation toolings as well, to these systems. Some tools like HubSpot, like Salesforce as well, have their own tools built in as well. In HubSpot, this is called Breeze, which can also provide intelligence on your customer database that you don't have yet, and can pull in extra data. So this is often more relevant or more expensive data than just LinkedIn Sales Navigator, because it looks at more than just LinkedIn data. But LinkedIn, of course, has its own way of working as well, providing information around being in market or looking at specific information. So yeah, there are a lot of solutions, but it all depends, just as with everything, what are you trying to achieve with it, and how should it serve your organization in this. Okay, I don't see too much questions coming in again. If there's any questions, and we're almost out of time as well, if there's any questions in the near future as well, I see Heidi is still typing something, but just going to finish this off already. If there's any questions that you have, please reach out to me, whether via email, via LinkedIn. I'll gladly help you out or connect you to the right team members in our organization. Hopefully, you've all learned something from this, and you can use or gain more adoption from this and improve adoption based on this framework. Thanks all for attending. I hope you can enjoy some lunch in the sun afterwards, and looking forward to connecting, whether digitally or in real life afterwards. Thank you very much.